Broads. I mean, here I am again having to hop on before the episode started and the Bachelorette season hasn't even begun yet. But it's been, 2 days since we released our last episode, and already, it's been mere days, and already there is more Bachelorette drama and tea, and we're more confused than we were even a few days ago, and we were so excited, and now we feel confused. I mean, we're all over the place. So, needed to let you know that Becca and I will be absolutely discussing all of this, diving into all of it in Tuesday's episode. So, in a few days, you're going to get all our thoughts. And I'm sure by then, more drama will have surfaced. More discussions will have happened. So we're going to get into all of that on Tuesday's episode. But please enjoy this episode today with one of our most favorite people ever. We had her back, Jessica Lanyadoo, to talk about what the hell is going on with 2020. All right, broads, let's get into it.
And welcome to another episode of Chatty Broads with Becca and Jess.
Oh, broads.
Okay, we're in for a treat today.
Maybe
it's just me and Jess that are in for a treat because we are. Did our listeners just absolutely?
Oh, no! Our listeners lost their shit when we had this guest on the first time. Became fully hooked on.
Oh, I was obsessed.
Their podcast. I can't even believe it. And I'm so excited. And so Becca and I, we went out on a limb and I'm like, oh my God, I wonder if Jessica Lanyadoo is around. And I can't believe it. You are here. Thank you so much.
Anytime. Have me over anytime. But next time I want to be sitting in betwixt the two of you on the couch with that cute background.
Honestly,
we would
you're
love
making
it.
my heart hurt. I would just love.
It's all, we're hoping for simpler times, right?
Yes,
the times of actually interacting with people and giving them hugs and
that we could just hold hands together and podcast.
Yeah.
This is actually the first day that Becca and I have been recording in person since March. Because we went, we went safe haven, and then we're like, okay, now we've tested and we're just opening up our little bubble to the two of us. And so now we get to see, and I'm like, when she walked in today, I was shaking. I was like a human being.
So weird.
I've seen her in person. This is so weird.
It's very bizarre.
Yes.
It's, you know what? It's if I can just jump right on into a damn thing is I feel like it's so smart that you guys are doing this because it looks like this is going to be going on for so much longer. Mm-hmm. I don't know if not just in the US, but today I saw thousands of people are marching in Germany because they're mad at masks. So people are just mask free, being COVID's fake.
So it's happening in other countries too. Well, that's sort of comforting in a not comforting way.
It's comforting to know that we're not the only idiots in the world.
We're not the only shitheads.
Yes. But we do have a pretty, I feel like we've corner the market on it for now. Yeah. People are competing to catch up maybe, but I feel like we're doing pretty good. We're pretty high up in the idiot ranks.
We got first place shithead right now.
Trendsetter.
Gold medals.
Yes. Gold stars, gold medals all around. So, I think it's smart to have strategies for the long-term nature of this.
Yeah.
And pods with people you trust.
Yep. That's the thing. Yeah. Well, okay. So to our listeners, if you did not listen to our past episode with Jessica, I'll link it in the episode notes.
When was that? Do we know what month that was?
It was in July 2019.
How do you remember? I'm so impressed. It was a year. Is this our anniversary?
Oh my God.
Wait, wow. That is actually shocking to me.
Yeah, it is. It was a really different world.
A whole year. Very different world.
Yeah.
And can you give us a little bit of a little bio just for if we have new listeners?
Yes. Sure. So my name is Jessica Lanyadoo. I'm host of Ghost of a Podcast, where I give advice and I teach astrology and I give the horoscope every week. And I have a book. I had a book come out since I've seen you last, actually. Astrology for Real Relationships. I don't mean to brag, but it's very cute. As well as also being very, it's a good book, read it, but also just look at it. And what else? I'm an astrologer. I'm an animal communicator. I am a psychic. I am a medium. I am a humongous fan of curly hair.
And you look fabulous with it.
We do.
Thank you so much. Well, you know, the weave is gone. I had to take out all my extensions. I was so sad about it because you can't maintain extensions in a quarantine.
It's true, but it looks great.
Yeah. Thank you. That's very nice. Thank you very much. I think that's my bio. Is that a bio? I'm from Canada, so you may hear an accent. I live in California, so you may not,
Yes. We're not too far. Oakland, right?
No, yeah. Oakland, California. You guys are LA proper, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. We're both kind of in the heat in different areas.
Yeah, I'm in Long Beach now, so.
How was your earthquake situation?
I'm gonna be honest with you. It scared the shit out of me.
Did you wake up? I didn't.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I only woke up because my daughter was screaming her head off in the other room.
Oh my God.
But I was just like, ugh, your Ruth is at it again. I gotta go get up and bring her. And we brought her into bed with us. I had no idea though.
And turns out,
wow,
I woke up before the earthquake happened because we got this, since we last spoke, we adopted this tiny, tiny precious puppy. And
is it this small really? Because you're doing like,
she's very small.
really tiny.
She's like 5 pounds. She's so cute.
She's really cute.
And she's become the love of my life. I could leave everyone in my family for her. And she started barking and growling, and she doesn't bark very often at all. So she wakes up, starts barking and growling, and I'm like, Ashley, she was sleeping next to us. I'm like, Ashley, what's the deal, girl? And then all of a sudden, boom, earthquake. And
they know. They know.
And it was quite a large jolt. And then there was a few afterwards. But yeah, I mean,
aftershocks are what always make me want to barf.
Yeah.
I really feel like whenever there's an earthquake, I like seek out my cats and I'm like, if you're not panicked, I'm not panicked.
Right.
The second you look scared, I'm worried.
We were together in the studio last year when we had a crazy earthquake in LA.
The one big earthquake last year.
Well, there was two. So one, I was at the Dodger Stadium, of fucking course. And the other time, I was here with Jess, and it was while we were recording, and we were just like,
and we have it on camera, and we're just like, what's going on? But the weird thing about that is that earthquakes are also different, right? So that one felt like it was on, like where we were on a wave rolling. And it was rolling, and this one was like a mega jolt. It was like,
which is funny because I remember like maybe 3 years ago, I woke up in the middle of the night. You might remember this. It was 3 or 4 years ago in LA, and I woke up at 2:00 in the morning, and I thought that a demon was shaking my bed, like in The Exorcist. Like that was my first thought when I woke up. I was like, well, the demons have finally come for me, and they're shaking my bed.
I knew it was going to happen eventually.
I was like, fuck. And then I realized fairly quickly that it was an earthquake. But really, I was like, demon in the room.
Earth demons, yeah.
It felt like it was shaking my bed.
That is terrifying. I really am not into earthquakes. Like I'm deeply scared of them.
You should be.
They're one of my biggest fears too. And I feel like a lot of my friends will make fun of me. You're not one of them.
No.
Most of my friends make fun of me though, because I have earthquake kits in all my cars. All my cars are 2 cars. I have earthquake kits in all of my many cars and all over the house, like numerous. Yeah. I'm like, the big one is coming, and we need to be prepared.
Well, I'm sure you've seen, Jessica, the footage from 1980 something, when the cars are just on the bridge and they're just driving off into the split part of the bridge in San Francisco.
Yeah. Well, I was in San Francisco like to visit not long after the earthquake. So I was in the city for like just seeing the neighborhoods just torn literally apart. Yeah, it was shocking. And I think, I'll just say I'm a huge fan of the go bag. I have go bags.
We love a go bag.
Every area code / just in the corners of my house. I am a huge fan of, when you can like lock your heavy furniture to the wall.
Yes.
We've done that. We have water. I've got like a water barrel, the kind that you buy and then you fill it up and you treat it. So it's like good for years.
Yeah.
I have earthquake preparedness plans highlighted, like tools highlighted on the bio of my Instagram page. That is how into like survival tools I am, because I feel like so many women are discouraged from having preventative measures in place around, our material survival. And so I'm all about it.
You're so right. Whenever I feel like I bring up my fears for survival, I get shamed, and then I secretly continue to stash more things. Now I'm not hoarding. I'm just preparing.
No, I mean, You need your thinks in there. You need your socks in there. I have a pair of walking shoes that I've never worn, but they're my walking shoes for when I need to walk across the state to get to a non-earthquake. I've read a lot of post-apocalyptic books, and they all take place in the Bay Area, and they always involve climbing over cement and crossing the Golden Gate Bridge. So I'm ready. You know,
do you have an inflatable boat?
That is an excellent question, and you're giving me preparedness shame by asking it in a very good way. I am lacking in a boat. I am lacking, but you know what I'm not lacking in? I'm not lacking in hella like those straws where you can just like drink sludge water and be like,
those are the life. What are they called? Life straws or something?
Life straws. Yeah, I have life straws. I have the Berkey water filter.
Those are.
I've got like. They're the best.
They're the best.
This is not a product placement, and forgive me if it sounds like it, but Vitamix, which you know the brand, right? Vitamix makes the
I have one.
They just came out with a composting machine, which I am coveting.
Oh my God.
I'm going to be looking that up immediately.
I know. It gives you fertilizer for your garden, like within 3 hours.
Within 3 hours? Because I have a compost bin in the backyard, and you know that shit takes like 6 months. But
it's not just that it takes 6 months; it's that it's gross. It's like you put your hand in there, and you're like, "It's a spider emporium." Like all I have done is disrupted and angered spiders who are already against me.
Another fear.
Another fear, exactly. I don't know. I guess that's low key our theme today is like terrifying things, aka 2020.
2020.
But I feel like putting your hand in a compost bin should be a fear.
Yeah. It's a little intimidating.
It's a little intimidating.
All right. Well, broads, with everything we've been talking about right now, I'm sure you're not surprised to hear that I've seen an insane amount of reports coming out in the last few months that, well, on top of everything else going on, there's been a drastic drop in a lot of libidos. As if the world wasn't tough enough right now. So friend to friend, broad to broad, I'm going to introduce you to something that's been getting me through it, and that is O-Shot by Omax. And who am I kidding? Introduced you to this? We've been raving about this product for forever. O-Shot is the 100% natural sex lube that you need in your life. It is formulated by women, so you know it's going to be good. Made with luxurious liquid coconut oil, hemp-derived CBD, and all natural botanicals like kava root, peppermint, cinnamon, ginger, and vanilla. Oh, all the good stuff. This formula is completely non-toxic and safe to eat, if you catch my drift. And if you're looking to improve your libido or spice up your sex life with a partner or with yourself these days, I can tell you from experience that O-Shot is a must try. After applying O-Shot, instantly amplifies your arousal and your ability to achieve stronger, more frequent orgasms, which means less stress, better sleep, overall happier disposition, at least for me. So basically, it's exactly what we need right now, right? You'll feel the effects within 10 minutes of applying, and it lasts for up to an hour of fun. This stuff is so good. Seriously, I've gifted it to a number of friends, you know, because I'm an orgasm Santa Claus, or whatever you want to call it. Why not share the love, you know? So listen up, because O-Shot is offering our listeners 20% off O-Shot plus free shipping. Just go to oshotcbd.com today and enter code chatty. That's oshotcbd.com and enter code chatty to get 20% off O-Shot and site-wide. Come on. You'll thank us later. That's oshotcbd.com, oshotcbd.com, and enter code chatty.
I just have one question. Will a hot tub work for a water source because it's chlorinated?
That's a great question.
Interesting question.
That's a Google me the answer kind of moment. Because, you know, I know that your hot water tank, like you just turn it off and then all the water in the tank is usable. Oh. You're supposed to fill up your tub right away.
Right away.
And cap it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Make sure all your toilets are flushed immediately, because then the water that's in the tank is drinkable. I mean, please, you know, filter it if you can, but it is usable water. So there's like things you can do, but if you have bathtubs, filling up your tub immediately is a really good idea.
You know, I did that right away.
I did that last year.
I ran straight to the bathtub, turned it on, and my husband woke up because, of course, the earthquakes never disturb him. And he's just like, "Are you taking a bath at 4 a.m?" And I was like, "No, I'm saving your life."
That's right.
Okay,
that's right.
Real question. I'm not trying to get political with this. Do you guys have guns?
That's a great question.
That is a great question.
Because my fear is never the actual disaster. My fear, as we saw with people's reactions, even to COVID, with the panic buying, I am not scared of the elements. I am scared of the people and their reactions to the natural disasters. I'm terrified of it. I can't watch World War, what is it called? War of the Worlds? Because it freaks me out. The scenes with the people. Ugh.
Yeah, I won't do that either. I will say, firstly, which is not exactly answering your question, but first answer is after 9/11, did get the kind of like gas mask that's like you're in a nuclear event. I also have like radiation proof gloves.
Wow.
I also have iodine in my purse at all times because if there's a nuclear event and you survive it, you need to take that it's not iodine, it's like thermodyne or something. It coats your thyroid and it protects you from the worst of cancer.
I'm writing this down as we speak.
I'm telling you.
Hold please.
It's in the highlights of my Instagram. It's like I basically linked. I actually really do not encourage people to shop with Amazon because fuck just Jeff Bezos. I'm sorry if that's not okay to say on your podcast.
Please say it.
But I do have a list on Amazon of all these things just so people can reference it because there's no other way to make it like accessible so you'd see what the product is. The only thing about this product though, if you are going to like go full Jessica on this, right? Is that if it's expired, it's useless. Like a lot of things, if it's expired, you can still use it. So you have to check the expiration date on your product. This is like full prepper talk.
I love this.
You guys ever watch Doomsday Preppers?
I personally am not for guns.
Okay.
Because I don't want on me, I don't want to survive at the expense of causing that kind of harm to others. So for me, I'm not for guns. My partner kind of inherited, like it's like a vintage gun from a grandfather who passed.
But
it's not like an accessible, it's not really like a weapon. It's not a weapon. It's like a inherited item sort of thing. You know, it's an item that happens to be a gun, but it's not a gun.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. How about you guys? Do you have guns?
My boyfriend has one of those grandfather passed down basically like a musket from the Civil War type thing, not really the best, but I felt kind of the same way until now I have 2 kids and I'm like, fuck, if someone's trying to break into my shit and trying to steal our food, sorry.
Well, I was feeling similar when everything was happening and we didn't own guns. We still don't. But I was very nervous and I'm like, oh my God, I don't believe in guns. I feel very nervous about all this, blah, blah, blah. So I ended up purchasing a very high powered long shooting taser.
Yeah, you did.
Whoa.
See, we're basically sharing I've been pricing them because I'm like, that I could get into.
Yeah, I'm like, this person will survive. They'll be okay, but I can get it from far away. And it's like, don't get near me. I got this.
Yeah. I forgot that I was obsessed with that. Yeah. I must, when you like obsessively shop for something, you keep all the tabs up and then your computer crashes and you forget.
Yeah.
I have is it going to be bright yellow? Is it going to be pink? Am I going to allow myself to pay more for the pink one? But yeah, that's the answer, I think.
I like that.
It's also maybe I shouldn't say that on your podcast. Sorry. I just feel like it's really complicated. The whole topic of guns is really complicated. And,
well, I'll tell you what, it was freaking me out because when COVID hit, my boyfriend went out to get ammo for his gun and everything was sold out in the gun stores. Yeah. So then you start freaking out and you're like, how many of my neighbors are armed?
That's when I bought the taser.
That's it.
I was like,
that's it.
It's freaky.
I was seeing all the articles of every gun gets sold out and I was just like, I'm going to need to get a taser because all these people are apparently running around with their guns.
Also like a pellet gun or something, like some sort of, something like that.
I mean, it's all really complicated. And it's like, when we go into fear, I think it's really obvious you need weapons. And then when you go into how do I want to participate in the world? And what do I want on my soul's conscience that I have done? I think it becomes something else. And it's something that is really, it's like authentically confusing to me. And I don't live in a rural place like none of us do, right? We're all living in cities. Yeah. And I think that living in a rural place, it is different because there are multiple uses of guns. But ultimately, I think I'm personally very confused by when spiritual people or religious people are really motivated with guns, because I just feel like, how could you be spiritual and feel empowered to cause that kind of bodily harm to another person? For me, that's really just like an ethical line. But everyone's values are different. And, you know, and I think I'm not judging other people's values because everyone has their own story and their own perspective. But for me, that's a like a hard line. Mm-hmm. And I read The Road. Now, if you've never read The Road, I want to say, do not read The Road. It was the worst thing I've ever read. Have you guys read The Road?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
The worst book that ever existed. Don't read it. It's awful. It ruined my life. Like I read it maybe, I don't know, like definitely 10, 15 years ago.
It still haunts
Think
you.
about it. Yeah.
It probably messed me up for like, I'm going to say at least 2.5 weeks where I would feel like I was just like staring at a wall.
I had a serious fight with my girlfriend at the time had recommended that I read it. And I was like, I will break up with you if you ever do something like this to me again. I was like, there is no world. I was like, there is no world where you should think that I can handle that. Because we read The Road and we have go bags everywhere. Not a coincidence.
I think that's why it was written.
That's why it was written, so that we would all prepare for an apocalyptic event and also be terrified of our neighbors, I guess.
You know what I also found out because of Doomsday preppers? Basically, like, I hope none of you guys are diabetic because that's a serious issue. Yeah. Don't know why I felt like bringing that up, but I was just thinking about
I will
Doomsday
say,
preppers.
I don't know that you can get them as much anymore, but you know, because as an astrologer, I saw 2020 coming. Yes, I got myself a bucket of, I got myself a bucket of food. It's like dehydrated food, you know, for the apocalypse. And you can get diabetic friendly, gluten-free, vegan, like you can get and I say, maybe you can't say anymore because people like, if you think they bought toilet paper, you better trust they bought dehydrated food. But it's just like living in an earthquake country. A lot of this like doomsday prepping is identical to earthquake prepping. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So it makes me feel a little less like, are you investing in the apocalypse? Because I'm investing in surviving, not just surviving personally, but like if you have this stuff and you never need it, then you can give it to neighbors, you can give it to people who need that stuff, you know, and if you do have a need for it, you can share it with your neighbors in general who aren't prepared, because you better trust. If you look to the left and you look to the right, at least one of your neighbors is not prepared.
Which, by the way, why is important. It's why I'm, you know, you got to make relationships with your neighbors.
Oh, yes. Very important.
Then maybe they won't come kill you for your food.
Yes. Or they won't try to eat you.
Yes. Also, I will say, while we're here, it is important to have Sharpies in your go bags, because let's say some shit happens to your house and it's not safe to stay in your physical house, but you have like a plan with your friend or you have a plan with your partner and you're not both home when an earthquake happens. You write on like your porch or something, I am here.
Guys,
like tell them where they are.
Oh, this is giving me anxiety.
I have chills.
Sorry.
I have chills. That's so smart.
I've spent a lot of time and energy on my go bag. So yeah, I always have a Sharpie on me just in case.
It's so true because like, you know, I have my little wind up thing for my phone and all that, but like, you know, it's not saying that my partner is going to be somewhere where they have, you know, their
cell towers
are down. Correct. Everything's down. Yep.
So you remember when in Hawaii? Yeah.
This is just fluid that I have. Just write it on the walls.
It happens. Yeah. You know, people do, but a Sharpie is more convenient, I think, than blood.
Also more convenient than blood too, guys. Don't forget, like charred wood. You burn some wood. Just pro tip.
Real talk.
Remember this, guys.
I'm glad to be having this conversation because I feel like I would probably just go to the extreme to blood and be like, you had a lot of options.
Yes. You're like, wait a minute. There was a pencil in my purse. I will say I was in Hawaii for remember when there was a missile attack and it didn't actually turn out that there was, I was in Hawaii when that happened. It was the morning. And I was in a hotel room where the whole, a whole wall of the hotel room was glass facing the water, where it would have been me watching the missile come through. It was what I might characterize as terrifying. But you know what I had? A fucking bomb shelter in less than 90 seconds. I had a bomb shelter in my hotel room. I mean, it wouldn't have worked because it was like a bathroom was what I was using as a bomb shelter. It was like a thin hotel wall,
but it was
a glass wall. But I had all the medications. Everything was being charged while there was still a charge. I was like water. I did I got to see that when you're prepared, something kicks in. You know what I mean?
It like calms you.
it calms you. And I met this guy the next day who was local to the area. And he was like, yeah, my daughters, my wife, they were freaking out. And I just sat on the porch with my coffee. And he was like, I know Jesus, I'm fine. And he just waited and it didn't come. So he was fine. And I was like, now that is what I aspire to.
Yeah.
Just be like, God bless.
That is my mom. My mom, like, when we asked mom, like, don't you need a gun or whatever? She goes, like, you can take me. You can take my body. You can take my food. If that's what you need, like, you can take it. And I'm like, ha! I will be poisoning myself and my children before doing that. Sorry.
Seriously.
So
that's gonna be a no.
Oh yeah. We are uplifting bunch. What we are.
Look, this is what we're doing. We're bringing this positive energy, into the podcast. Okay, but speaking of,
we need to do a whole episode on Doomsday prepping.
I know, it's so good. Obviously, we have an expert here.
Yes. I mean, please do. I feel like women need to talk about it.
It's important. It really is. We need to know. And so many questions.
Also, what a fun project while in quarantine.
I know, seriously. What else are you going to do?
Even though probably literally everything is probably sold out, but
Right. But you can order. I mean, what are you doing but sitting around and waiting anyway?
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Wait on my porch for my Doomsday boxes.
Exactly. Yeah. You're like, I'm chill.
Okay, so we have to talk about two things. First of all, we have to talk about 2020, Jessica, because we need to know astrologically. You saw it coming. I want to know about what we're moving into. Also, side note, Broads will tag Jessica's podcast, but some of your episodes have been so peace-inducing for me during this process.
So glad to hear
I would
that.
like to personally say thank you when I feel very nervous about what's going on. I've appreciated your podcast.
And also, I've been receiving messages of people.
And that's what we need to talk about first.
Yeah, people said that you predicted. Well, I don't know. Actually, everyone's been messaging me since that episode being like, what if it was this?
Yeah,
what if it was this?
But this seems pretty straightforward. So the last time that you were on the podcast, Becca.
Oh yeah, I don't remember the exact wording. I should have gone and listened to it before. I don't know if you did. You said something about in 2020 I don't remember the wording.
I believe it was that there was going to be like a big change for you, like maybe creation or like...
Yeah, I think creation. That's what the word I thought was used.
And I do believe that you were mentioning like bringing up your relationship, like Gray was a part of it or something like that. And
I don't remember that part, but I remember it being like a creation thing. And I was led to believe, I wasn't led to believe. I started thinking that it was some sort of career thing.
Well, because you had just started school again. That was your new endeavor. You were like, oh, I'm going back to finish my degree for art. And so you were like, yeah, maybe it doesn't necessarily feel like that. Well, and then bada bing, bada boom, a few months later, Becca gets pregnant.
Yeah, Uranus sextile to your Venus. It often coincides with unplanned pregnancies because it increases your fertility and it also makes you feel sexy.
Interesting.
Bada bing, bada boom, as they say.
It's definitely, that's so interesting because also, we've talked about this on plenty of other podcast episodes, but it was totally unplanned. And also we were using like the pull-out method every single time. So I didn't think that I was pregnant. And then it was like, oh, weird.
You were like, actually,
in a few weeks.
I mean, nothing is foolproof. I mean, that's what we know. But also, but the baby's healthy. Everything's good.
Oh yeah, it was the easiest pregnancy ever. Fantastic birth experience. Just 6 weeks ago, yesterday, he was born in our living room in a tub, and it was like the most awesome experience ever. It was fantastic. And I loved quarantine selfishly because I just got to chill at home with my babies and my boyfriend and
she knew that none of us were going out.
Yeah, I had no FOMO.
Right. So there's no FOMO. FOMO-free pregnancy.
I loved it.
That's amazing. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
You know, there's something else in your chart. Hold on, Gerald.
Hold the phone.
Hold on, Gerald.
There's another one coming.
No. You're right now going through a Saturn conjunction to your Neptune and Uranus. Are you having some health stuff? Like
Not that I know of.
No? I mean, you would know. It wouldn't be anything crazy. It would just be like...
the baby.
Yeah, it would be like, oh, I feel like I'm iron deficient, or like, you know, like I'm more exhausted than normal, like normal health stuff, nothing scary.
There's always something going on with me, it seems. but I can't think of anything in particular, actually.
You know, you're just in a period astrologically until the end of the year that is often coincides with having like less, honestly, it tends to be more like less mental energy, which is kind of why I mentioned like iron deficiency, because its symptoms are exhaustion and feeling kind of depleted as opposed to like my back hurts or something, you know? So if you're feeling if you end up feeling exhausted or low energy, or like you're actually like, I'm deep diving into quarantine, and even if restrictions lift, I'm not engaging. Like I just want to be more chill at home. Just lean into that is what I would say.
Love it.
And, but you know, I looked at both of your charts before. Of course I did. Duh, of course. And things also seem like they've chilled out for you as well. Right? Cause I remember we talked about like family stuff.
Jess? Yeah.
Jess. Sorry.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, okay. So Jessica, when you were initially talking, there were two things. One of the things was family tension. And then the second was that, my husband and I were going to have a huge shift dynamically. And you said it was going to have to do with like power/money. And I will let you know that about 2 months after we did the episode, Evan had to leave his job. And so then he was home with the little one, and I was the one I was then in more of the power position than I was before, because, you know, at the time we were both working, but, you know, he was taking a little more of the brunt on this. We fully shifted. And then
congratulations.
Thank you. And then since, of course, then 2020, and his job is and then he ended up getting a new job. And was doing that for about 2 months. But then his job is he does live, works for live artists. So it's all big concert events. So everything shut down. So then we went back into that position again since everything was happening. And that's how it's been for a few months. Now,
but it's working, eh?
It's working great. And I think the 2 months before, because it happened before all of the quarantine stuff, it actually made the transition smoother, because it was like we were able to communicate. But it was very helpful to have the conversation with you, because we talked about it after we got off the podcast, and we actually had a pre-conversation to what if this happens? Will you feel insecure? You need to talk to me if you're feeling insecure. Why do you feel insecure? Is it because of the culture that we grew up in, and kind of this misogynistic, like, you know, subconscious that you have to do this and blah, blah, blah. So it opened up all those, which was great. But then the family dynamic, which was really tough for a while, has chilled drastically. Yeah.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank
I think
you.
it's the transit that was fucking your life up. I think it's over. It will reoccur for a minute more. Let me just give you that heads up.
Let me look up the next 3 years, it looks like.
No, more like 3 months-ish. Let's see. It starts August 19th.
Okay.
And you'll be in it until the 19th of November. So it's just a couple months.
Okay. And that's the family dynamic?
Yeah. I mean, it could be the partner dynamic, but my instinct is it's family of origin, not chosen family.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I would just be like, oh, okay, so if shit comes back up, that's just an opportunity for me to like actually integrate and own what I've already figured out.
Perfect.
It's not gonna be something new. It's gonna be an opportunity to do it. Okay. You know what I mean? To do what you already know how to do here. And I'm so glad it was helpful.
It was like,
last time.
Having the conversation before, it was so helpful, and was also then very telling to me, because I feel like sometimes people are like, why do you like with astrology, like knowing beforehand, I'm like, I was able to have an active conversation with my partner that we had tiptoed around, and it helped so much, you know, and now knowing this with the family stuff, we can have this conversation again and prepare ourselves, you know, being like, hey, let's remember how we handled this last time and the things that were positive and where the boundaries had to be set and all that. It's a good refresher.
So I'll throw one last thing in. And I can't remember what you had said about this, but basically, if you're not trying to have another child, I would bag it, snip it, whatever you need to do in 2021. You're welcome.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Yeah. Yeah. Because you'll be going through the same transit
Okay.
that Becca was just in, still in the very tail ends of next year. So you're very fucking fertile. Like you're stupidly fertile.
This is the both
like,
of us. Like this is not okay. She's even more. She's way more so.
You have and do you prefer Jess or Jessica?
Jess. I mean, yeah, either, but Jess. I like.
But Jess. Okay, cool. That's what I thought. But I was like, am I just making that up because I'm Jessica? Okay. I don't know. I was just like, did I? Anyway,
You're Jessica. I'm Jess. Hard line.
That's how I feel about it. Hard line.
Hard line.
But Jess, you have Venus in Virgo in the 5th house. And astrologically, that means lots of things. But one of the things it means is that you are very fertile. You've got like a solid ovulation, like a very solid ovulation. And then Becca, yours is just consistent. So you just fucked on the wrong day if you weren't planning on having a kid kind of thing. Whereas for you, Jess, it's like your window is big.
Eggs for everyone.
Know? Yeah. Eggs for everyone. That's right.
I'm really appreciating.
It's my literal nightmare.
Really appreciating this heads up because I'm going to schedule our hour appointments tomorrow. Okay, like
thank you.
We're not.
Thank you.
You know, if we're having another one, we're adopting. Like I'm not having another.
Good for you. And honestly, it's just fertility is such a fascinating topic to me as an astrologer. Personally, me, 45 years old, never want a child, never wanted a child. Don't have a child and have no regrets. For anyone who's like on the fence, I just want to be a voice of no regrets.
Absolutely.
None. 0%, 0.0%.
Cheers.
But I find fertility so fascinating because it's such an integral part of kind of the majority of humans' experience. This issue of like, should I have a kid? I got pregnant. What does it mean? Like, how do I get pregnant? Like there's all these parts of it. And the emotions that come up for people of all genders it's one of the few things I don't think we can compromise for a partner. You know what I mean? It's like such a deep life experience. So it's something I'm really kind of passionate about astrologically, not personally exactly for me, you know, but like for being able to support people in. But between the two of you, you could have like a partridge family. You know what I mean? Was that them when they had like 700 children?
Is it the Brady Bunch?
Brady Bunch. You could have a Brady Bunch.
It's just Becca and I with like our 17 children.
Yes. You could be a Brady Bunch.
Our 14 children.
Yes, I would actually watch
one of
that.
them is planned. That's my song for us. Oh my God.
That was funny. That was a good one. I want that to be your theme song. Just make that your new theme song.
Change our theme song.
Funny because someone just told me the other day, the craniosacral therapist who were doing stuff with Franklin. Anyway, she was like, oh, when did you go into labor with each of your kids? And I was like, basically right on my due date. And she was like, oh, you have a super consistent cycle then. And I was like, yep, 29 days. Let's go. Let's go.
Your cycle is like a literalist. She's just like, what? Is there an option to do it differently? Because I didn't think there was. Like I thought I had to follow the rules. So yeah, that Venus and Virgo is just very strong in you. So yeah, you both are very fertile. It's dumb. Yeah.
We're just Mother Earth.
Eggs for everyone. I really liked that. Eggs for everyone. Good. It's good. I'm just like, don't get your eggs on me, but we're good. Yeah. We're good. Well, I'm glad it was helpful. And
so helpful.
You know, when for the last like 2 years, when people have been coming to me to ask questions, I've been trying to say to people like in 2018 and 2019, and trying to give people answers that wasn't fear-based, but was considerate of what I saw coming. And I'm still in that ethical quandary of like, what is the fine line between, you know, saying something that generates fear, and saying something that's like pragmatically helpful. And I think that, and this is like off topic of your shared fertility in your future Brady Bunch. But I think that, it's just like
Brady Bunch.
Your
Let's make that clear.
Your fantastical, theoretical, fictional Brady Bunch. Yes. But it's a really tricky thing because the astrology, certainly of 2020, unfortunately of 2021, is concerning. And when people hear me say that and they start to freak out, I just want to like ground you into how could it not be? Like, how could we be where we are? Today's August 1st, 2020, and not have 2021 be really complicated and difficult. You know, in the context of the much needed social uprising and the cascade effect that has on so many different things, in the context of COVID-19, in the context of, again, the cascading effect that COVID-19 has. And then, of course, the pretty alarming, from my political viewpoint, behavior of the current administration and the threats to not leave, even if they lose. So I think that we can expect things to be unpredictable and chaotic. And because of that, before you even ask me any real questions about 2020, I just want to say, like, some people are really helped, like you, Jess, and then you're like, yeah, I want to know things coming my way so that I can prepare. And then some people are like, if I think about negative things coming, I dissolve into a puddle and I'm not useful. And I think it's important to know yourself and to know what helps you live a good life and what doesn't. And there's like a fine line between that and sticking your head in the sand, right? Yeah. But I think that across the board, this is a good time to be really looking at all of our individual coping styles, right? Like, can you look at things that are scary and overwhelming and stay present so that you can figure out your role to play, right? So that you can grow and change. And everyone's tolerance is going to be different. But I think it's about right now finding your baseline and slowly developing, or for some of us who can tolerate it, you know, quickly developing a new baseline and new tools. And it's just, you know, what they call a CTA, a call to action. So I just say, like, this is a time for major calls to action. And I think that, you know, you can look to astrology for insight into that, and you can look at the news for insight into that. You know, you can look at your Instagram feed. Hopefully we'll give you insight into that, or you need to change who you're following and update your feed, right? It's like all the damn things. But that is my like preamble to whatever you're going to ask me about with astrology, you know, just to like help people make use of this stuff. Yeah.
Okay, Brad. So we all know about my struggles in the kitchen. I've been honest about that. I would like to be a world-renowned chef, but Mama has a hard time, and I've been trying. I have been trying lately. And the only reason that I actually have been putting out some really delicious meals these days is because of HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit service. They deliver fresh, pre-measured ingredients and mouthwatering seasonal recipes right to your door, so you can skip the lines at the grocery store and the hours searching for recipes online and let cooking be fun again, or fun for the first time, if you're in my shoes, okay? So fun, and better yet, so quick. Most of HelloFresh's meals are ready on the table in just 30 minutes, and that's less time than a single grocery store trip, which means you'll get a lot more time to actually enjoy the meal you're cooking. And if you or someone in your family has specific dietary restrictions, that's not a problem. You're going to find all kinds of options, like vegetarian. They also have family-friendly recipes on their site. I mean, when I've been looking back and thinking on some of my favorite memories growing up, a lot of them involved cooking with my mom, and HelloFresh lets me make those same memories with my daughter now. She loves helping out when I'm cooking with HelloFresh, and because all the ingredients are pre-measured and packaged, it's super easy to give her tasks like mixing ingredients together or adding in the spices because there's no food prep. And I know, even if she's doing it, it's still going to taste a-okay. And let's be real, she's probably a better chef than me already, and I'm doing it. It's tasting good because HelloFresh is that amazing. We made the pizza Bianca the other day, and yum. It was amazing. Oh, and if you're a family whose schedule is always up in the air, HelloFresh makes it so easy to change your delivery days. Skip a week, whatever you need. They easily adapt to your lifestyle and needs. So here's an amazing deal for you, broads. Go to HelloFresh.com/80chatty. That's 80chatty, and use code 80chatty to get a total of $80 off, including free shipping on your first box. Additional restrictions apply, and you can visit HelloFresh.com for more details. But again, that's HelloFresh.com/80chatty. chatty, 80 chatty, and use promo code 80 chatty for a total of $80 off, including free shipping on your first box. Well, broads, there's a good chance that your friends or maybe you yourself have made the switch to more natural self-care and beauty products in the last year or so. It's no secret that natural beauty is having a moment, and thank goodness, as it should be. But I will admit, at first, when it came to the deodorant, I wasn't so sure because one of the products I swapped right away was my deodorant. And I will be honest with you, most all of the natural deodorant brands I tried were not cutting it for me. I was still a stinky, okay? But then I found Native, and it is fantastic. Native is an amazing natural deodorant. And not only does it actually work all day, and I'm talking like all day. I've been running around sweaty, chasing a kiddo. At the end of the day, I still smell fresh. But Native is also made of amazing ingredients that you've actually heard of, like coconut oil, shea butter, tapioca starch. It doesn't contain any aluminum, parabens, sulfate, talc that can wreak havoc on your body. And honestly, those ingredients are going to be a big no for me going in my pits, okay? For sure. Native comes in the best scents too. On top of everything, they have scents like coconut and vanilla, citrus and herbal. My personal favorite right now is lavender and rose because I had no idea that I could get a deodorant that smells so luxurious. And if you're not totally convinced yet, here's the thing. Native is risk-free to try. Every product comes with free shipping in the US, plus free returns and exchanges. So why not try it out for yourself? And you're going to see why so many people love Native already. And when I say a lot of people love Native, I'm saying that they have 14,000 5-star reviews. 14,000 5-star reviews. Incredible. So do what we did and make the switch to Native today by going to nativedeo.com/chatty and use promo code chatty at checkout to get 20% off your first order. That's NATIVE nativedeo.com. nativedeo.com/chatty or use promo code chatty at checkout for 20% off your first order. I mean, my question first and foremost is, when you say you saw this coming, what is it astrologically that made 2020 stand out so much?
And when you say you saw it coming, what do you see? Just like political divide,
like
or just
that's
like
so
unrest?
Raven style?
Yeah.
Just
right.
Just see.
You're seeing cells, like the virus in your mind.
It's like the Matrix, and I'm Keanu Reeves. I just want you all to feel that way about me. This is again the tricky thing, because I feel really serious about the responsibility that I have if I'm speaking in public.
Yeah.
And I want to say, like, I would much rather be constructive and helpful to people than to have receipts and predict negative things. Mm-hmm. And I see the value in like predicting negative things if you see them coming and then having receipts, but I would rather not. And so, in 2016, I finally told my partner what I saw coming. And after he like kind of pushed me, he was like, no, I really want to know. Why wouldn't you tell me what you're seeing? Why are you so freaked out? Why are you having nightmares? And I told him that in 2020, I saw a pandemic that was airborne, that would be deeply destructive to human life. And he freaked out. Now, will he be excited that I'm saying this on your podcast? No, he won't. But I didn't ask him if I could first. But oh well, fingers crossed, he doesn't freak out. But yeah, when I saw the look on his face, and when I saw for like days after, and I like gave him details and yada yada, and I saw for days after how it like kind of affected him. I was just like, okay, so I'm not talking about this in public ever, like never. So now it's after the fact. So I've now started like talking about it in public because it's like whatever, it's after the fact. But I'm sharing this in part because it wouldn't have been constructive. I am not a politician. I don't work for the World Health Organization. I'm not a scientist. Nothing of what I said would have stopped what came. And it wouldn't have empowered people to do anything differently. Right. Mm-hmm, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I put, like I mentioned, like all those survival things in 2017 on my Instagram. And, I was just talking to an old friend and she was like, I've been so glad that you made me back. It was like 2017 or 18, get N95 masks when you still could. Right.
Yeah.
So I did see an airborne, pandemic. I thought of it, I called it a plague because I didn't know the word pandemic. Like I knew it, but I didn't really know it. Now it's embedded in my fucking mind. But before it was plague. So I did see that. And I did see that it would disproportionately impact Black and Brown Americans and poor Americans. And so where I saw that from is like a series of things, including but not limited to the Pluto return of the United States, which doesn't actually happen until February of 2021. So we're in the pre-game show. No one wants to hear that, but I said it.
Yeah. We might have to talk. And okay, so I like hearing. Okay, because sometimes I get little premonitions, and I'm like, is this just me being crazy, or am I like I need to be validated in that? Don't want to freak people out. But I was watching The Pianist the other night, and 20 minutes into the movie started, I had to turn it off. I told my boyfriend, no, like we were in the middle of the scene, and he was like, okay, can we just, and I was like, turn it off right now, turn it off right now, turn it off right now. I was panicking.
And then we both started panic texting
each other. But like, I started having this, actually last year, I started having this feeling of like, I might want to move out of the city because I'm going to have two small children. And I started getting like really kind of freaked out about that. And I was like, I really feel like I don't want to be in our major city with our young children right now, even though I fucking love LA for so many reasons. But I was like, started getting weird about that. And then the past week I've been like, is there like some political shit that's going to go down? That's going to be like some serious, like, is this me being like, they always do stupid memes about Aquarius with the tinfoil hat, but I'm like,
right.
Am I just being crazy or?
No, you're not being crazy. And also I think you would look very good in a tinfoil hat. I feel like you could pull it off and don't let anyone fashion shame you for that. But
cut to next week's episode. Becca's
Becca in a tinfoil hat. Honestly, I do think you could work it. I don't know. There's something about you could work it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also silver's cute.
Agreed.
So in regards to that, there's a number of things to talk about. One is let's pull back from astrology and just go common sense, right? With what we see happening with the violence of police, especially targeted towards Black people and brown people, especially targeted towards now at protest police. Journalists and aid workers. I mean, with the kind of violence of local police enforcement and also now the feds being deployed to cities that don't want the feds, that's not how America is supposed to work. The states have self-governance. That's what makes the great American experiment of democracy what it is. Like that's what has historically made it what it is. So to see a shift in that certainly points us towards great concerns in terms of the role of the military and the role of policing. We also see groups like Boogaloo. Do you know about Boogaloo?
I don't.
Oh, God. Did one of you, wait, Jess, did you say you know about it? Yeah. See, the people with go bags know about Boogaloo.
That reminds me of the Babadook, and that's horrifying. I don't know what that is.
The Babadook is also very scary.
I don't know what the Babadook is.
It's a very, very scary movie. I would not recommend it.
No, I don't watch scary movies. I don't watch any scary movies because I have enough scary movies in this thing.
Yeah, as someone with a go bag, you will be very afraid of what might be underneath your home. Okay, so don't watch the Babadook.
I mean, if I strongly recommend that everyone know what Boogaloo is. They're a very heavily armed white supremacist fringe group.
That is such a scary name. I don't know why that really freaks me out.
If you're driving through the US, you'll see a lot of like cars with Boogaloo bumper stickers and stuff like that. Boogaloo is what they call the kind of like race war that they want to have happen.
You can only find them by how they dress too.
Mm-hmm. They're Nazis. They're just like, it's like an American branding. It's a rebranding of Nazism. Yeah. They're not original. They're playing off of Nazi playbooks. Right. So, which, there's like a whole conversation we could be having about Nazism and its roots in the United States and its connections to the United States. But separate from that, there's no way that this isn't, that we're not living under a pressure cooker, right? So when I give you astrological context, I want to say, like, don't let that part freak you out. Like, read the news and be freaked out.
Sure.
And I say this because I think it's like my ethical duty to be like, astrology is such a great context, but read the damn news.
We can see what's happening right in front of us. Sure.
Exactly. So Mars goes retrograde. I wrote down the dates so I wouldn't fuck a thing up. So September 9th, it goes retrograde and it's there until November 13th. Okay. So Mars is going to be retrograde in the sign of Aries. There's two planets associated with war in astrology. Mars is combat. It's police and military. It's like guns and fist fights. Pluto's more like world war, genocide, nuclear holocaust. So, I mean, I use those voices only to lighten the load. Not that either of these planets mean that we will definitely have those things, because these planets are always in the sky and they're always doing something. But it is important to differentiate when we talk about war in the modern world. It is a completely different thing than it was the last time there was a world war. It is a completely different thing. We didn't have drones then. We didn't have cell phones where people could like film what's happening on the ground and then it could become world news, right? There's a million things that are different. That said, Mars retrograde that is upcoming concerns me in two levels. One is COVID-19. Because Mars is a planet associated with the body, but it's also associated with the vascular system and inflammation. And what we're learning about COVID, which we really, for people who don't know this, COVID-19, they call it a novel virus because it's brand new. So coronavirus is not brand new. This particular strain of the coronavirus just means basically flu. COVID-19 is a brand new strain and its presentation is more dramatic and deadly than most coronaviruses. And that's why it's a pandemic, right? And what we're starting to see is the vascular presentation. So people are getting strokes. People are having like different kinds of like blood issues. You see some people have like swollen feet or like purple blue toes or stuff like that, which is not what you would expect if it was really a respiratory issue, which is how we can most conventionally talk about COVID-19 as a respiratory issue. But there's actually a lot of indications of it hitting our vascular system and being an inflammation issue. So if it is that, which we don't know, and we have theories, but we don't know yet not because I'm an astrologer, but because it's new and human bodies or whatever. So my concern is with the Mars retrograde is the rapid spread of COVID-19 and also further either mutations or presentations of the kind of that component of COVID-19. And, we're talking, you asked me kind of like about war or combat, and we have to acknowledge that so much of people's anger and what's driving people to the street is not white supremacy and the violence of police officers against Black and brown people. It's having to wear a mask in public at Walmart or whatever. Like, it's like wanting to get a haircut. It's feeling like their civil liberties are being compromised because they're being asked to be considerate of others in this particular way. And so if COVID continues to get worse or has a mutation and has new presentations, then we will see more anger on the streets and we will see more division between people, unfortunately. I mean, it's not like it astrologically has to be so. It's that people are being dumbasses. But it's also that something that I talked about in my 2020 year ahead episode of my podcast was my concern about propaganda and what's happening. And we're already seeing it, but we haven't even seen, again, we're in the pre-game show, is like these pandemics, these the president talking about a medication that hasn't been vetted and now is proven to actually not be helpful at all for COVID-19. We have these oceanic waves of misinformation. And we have so much news coming at us through our phones and through the internet at all times that we don't have the skills, most of us, to source material, to see what year was this written? Who was this written by? Who owns this publication? Is this actually this is a article about COVID-19? Was a scientist quoted? Was a doctor quoted? Most people aren't thinking critically about the news they consume because people don't think that way, but we must, because there's way too much news in the news cycle. And some of it's just clickbait and some of it's straight up BNNANAS. I don't know if I misspelled that, but I don't feel like that's important. The spelling does not seem important in this scenario, but I've been told that I spell BANANAS wrong. Don't know. Okay. So there's that. And with what's going to come in, again, I wrote down the dates, November, December, is these eclipses in the Sagittarius Gemini polarity. And my concern with that is, again, it will really intensify the potential for all kinds of problems associated with cultishness, propaganda, fake news, all this kind of stuff. And so we're going to need to become more vigilant and more critical in our thinking.
Yeah.
And again, this is deeply connected to your question about conflict on the streets,
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other things, but I feel like I'm talking about a lot of things. I'm dropping a lot of heaviness. So I just the problem is I could pull out a scroll and keep on going. So I just want to be really keeping it digestible and useful.
Well, and yeah, what you were just saying about propaganda too. I was just telling Jess earlier, I feel like there's been very pointed efforts to divert people's attention to conspiracies and just unrelated topics that maybe do need to be talked about, but for the present time are diverting efforts and energy away from something that is the present issue, if that makes sense.
Yes, 100%. 100%. This is a silly, maybe sounding reference, but bear with me. So I really love the books, The Hunger Games. Great books.
Great.
Very great books. Movie, good too, fine, whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Mediocre.
But there's this thing in the last, did you guys both read or see The Hunger Games?
I actually, no, not me.
Great book. If you're into post-apocalyptic stuff, it's great.
I'm terrified, but love it at the same time.
It's pretty digestible.
I mean, I was 1984. I read that when I was 12, and it was my favorite book.
It's a great book. It's a great book. I mean, honestly, it's because it's YA. I think it's a lot more digestible. But there's basically spoiler alert. I don't usually mean it when I say spoiler alert, but I'm actually going to spoil a movie right now. But there's a scene, or if you watch the movie, or if there's a part of the book, if you read the book, where there's the heroine is fighting the people who are actually on her side because the system is designed to get you to infight instead of to remember who your actual enemy is. And that is the upshot of what we really must do as a people. We're
That's
not
what
going
we were talking about.
Okay, good. Thank you.
We were texting each other I don't think we need, the issue is not our fellow person.
The Hunger Games is such an excellent example that makes me want to go back and read them. Yeah, it was always the diversion from President Snow and everything. And it's just,
Yes.
Oh gosh, now I'm going to have to
go back. It was when we fight each other, what we are doing is we're misusing our well-deserved rage and our well-deserved heartbreak over the way things are. My belief and my feeling is if you see somebody on social media who's a proper ass hat, not a tinfoil hat, an ass hat, somebody who's just spewing stupidity or somebody who just you disagree with.
Sure.
Let that feeling empower you to reach out to your member of Congress and be why aren't you doing something about healthcare? Reach out to, some person who has actual power in the system. And say to that person, this is my damn opinion. This is not okay, because elected officials have to listen to their constituents. Now, they might not do what we want them to do, but the more of us that actually make noise, I really do believe the further we'll get. I will say that when we waste our energy, and I am calling it a waste of energy, yelling at each other, social change isn't made and systems don't change, And so I think we need to just take that rage, bottle it up, take that sadness, bottle it up, and then shake it, and then put it on the people. I was spraying it.
Yeah.
I don't know why I bottled it and shook it, but I did. I bottled it. I shook it.
Congressmen.
Yeah, just on all of them. Just like learn who your representatives are, city, state, and federal. Like learn who they are, put them on your speed dial. Find, there's so many things like ResistBot that just like create a text for you and tell you exactly what to say, copy and paste email, copy and paste, read it on a voicemail, or talk to an assistant who doesn't care what you say, but has to write it down. Do something that actually does something, that's my attitude about it. And within that, in order to make that choice, I think we need to, recognize that we need mental health and emotional health and spiritual health care within all of this. And I do believe we need critical thinking skills, which, a lot of people don't have and a lot of people don't want to invest in. But like just on a baseline, look at the date an article was published, look at the source of, both the writer and the publication. And every once in a while, look at who owns the companies you're spending all your money with, because if they're putting monies into the detention centers, which are essentially concentration camps, where ICE is putting what I would say are innocent people just trying to like flee danger. Yeah, don't give those companies money.
Companies,
you know what I mean?
Prison,
like those are forms
labor,
of activism.
Yeah.
Yes, don't. Yes, exactly. So I think that the positive potential of all of the astrology is that we can become more motivated, more engaged, and as a populace, become more impactful. You know what I mean? Do what Lewis told us to do and get into good trouble. That is something we can do. But it takes, unfortunately, for a lot of people, especially people who have social privilege, not just economic privilege, but social privilege. I think it takes for us as individuals to feel personally threatened. Right? Okay, well, everybody's threatened now. Everybody's threatened now. So hopefully that means that people get activated, and not just out of fear, but out of a sense of conscience, a sense of like civic duty, which brings me to another little bit of astrology I can share. Should it keep going?
Yes,
Should I keep
please.
going? Okay, cool. I'm going to do it. March, did I write the dates down? Nobody knows. What did I do? Oh yeah, March 23rd, 2020. Saturn moved into the sign of Aquarius. It was there until July 1st. It's retrograded back into Capricorn for a few months. It'll come back December 17th. So Saturn in Aquarius is a really big deal. So Saturn moves through each zodiac sign once every 29 and a half years. So the last time Saturn was in Aquarius was 91 through 94. The time before that, 62 to 64. And the time before that, 32 to 35.
Whoa.
And I'm just kidding.
Those are some heavy dates.
Wait, drop those dates again. Drop those dates in my mind.
Yes. Okay, so let's start with 32 through 35.
The Great Depression. Yep.
Yeah.
Kind of a big
World
deal.
War II.
We're heading into one, too. It was right before World War II. It was also when, in the United States, Social Security and banking regulations were created.
Interesting.
So those are things that are really being threatened right now. Those are things that people don't believe that they'll have Social Security. People are like, what's the point in putting it into the system? I'm not going to get anything out of it, right? And we know what's happening with banking regulations is frightening, right? Too big to fail, is that what they call it or whatever? Anyways, so that's then. Let's go to 62 through 64. Kind of a big deal. Civil Rights Act, Voting Rights Act. This was a time of great social unrest, not unlike today, where we have the issues of racial justice or racial injustice, more specifically, really up in the populace and people fighting on the streets for equality, right? This is a really important time for us to understand because most people know about the Saturn return. I think we even talked about it in the last time I was on your show, right? The Saturn return for people happens at around like 28, 29 years old, and then 29 years after that, and then 29 years after that. And there are these periods of maturity and coming into your own. And when we look at social movements or social conditions, having Saturn returns, it's like they come into a whole new view within society. So 62 through 64, we know what was going on then. Now, 91 through 94, this is when it was caught on video of police beating Rodney King. And there was another social uprising in response to that. So we see in the 91 through 94 and now how the use of recording is essential to people being activated and a social uprising to demand change occurs, right? Now, within all of this, I think it's really inspiring and also important to recognize that over the course of the next 2.5 years, we all need to be agents of the fight for social justice and specifically racial justice, and not exclusively racial justice, but specifically, because part of what these Saturn and Aquarius cycles are teaching us is that the kind of fight for equality, unfortunately, seems to come out of the populace being shown in kind of violent terms, the inequalities, right? And there's something that it says about us as a populace, right? That we don't give a fuck unless we're being forced to give a fuck. And I think that that's something we can strive to change. Now, something else that happened in 91, 94 period is that's when the first WWW, like the World Wide Web, was released to the public. So the internet was technically created meaningfully before that, but it was released to the public as like a public works kind of thing, like something that was free and accessible in the last Saturn and Aquarius. And then this Saturn and Aquarius, March 28th, 23rd, 28th, something like that, is when we all started living on the internet. We all had to go into our homes and be on our devices, and our interconnectedness is through the internet. And also the social uprising and the protests on the streets kind of were able to catch in the way they were, in part because people were filming at the protests. They were sharing it across the world. And it's not just the US. I mean, we can talk about lots of different nations and lots of different social uprisings, but here we are.
Yeah, and
so
then
that's
on the
what
other end, like our data on the internet and how that's being utilized in our country with the whole Zoom encryption issues, all that kind of stuff. It's like our use of the internet and our privacy and our freedom to use the internet is simultaneously being challenged at the same time that we're using it and connecting more than ever through it.
And if we don't create net neutrality and if we don't create legislation that protects our online rights, here's the risk. That the next Saturn in Aquarius in 29 years, a big part of the civil rights issue will be fighting for a free internet, fighting for a free kind of like access, because really the internet should be a public works that is accessible to all, because you cannot function in the modern world without, certainly in the US, without access to the internet. You can't even go to school without it anymore. So many kids are now needing to be at home. But even before COVID, so much of education is now happening online. And so I think that there are so many things that to me are on the front lines of civil rights struggles, including disability rights, LGBTQ rights, women's rights, a right to a free press, and of course, very importantly, civil rights and really looking at racial injustice. Also, xenophobia and how that all mixes in. And of course, within all of this, and I'm missing things. Trust me, I'm missing a lot of things. And capitalism is, of course, like deeply woven into all of this. But within all of this, the thing that I keep on wanting to come back to is the transit of Saturn through any sign is trying to get us, each of us as individuals, to see our civic duty, to see that we are a member of society and that we are a part of society. And so we have a choice around our role. And that is a matter of integrity. You know what I mean? Saturn is the planet that governs a sense of integrity and acting moralistically. There's multiple planets that govern moralistic behavior, but Saturn is in the context of society. So is Jupiter. But anyways, so I think that there's like a meaningful call here for all of us. And I also think it's important to acknowledge Saturn also governs fear. Saturn governs fear and depression and feeling squashed by things. And so you're kind of inert, like you can't do anything because it's all too much. And so if, someone's listening to this and they're like, I can't be educated on all those things. I can't care about all those things. I can't mobilize on all those things. Pick one, pick three. pick 3 and toggle between them. You know, I am a big believer in doing something is much better than doing nothing. So if your choice is nothing or something instead of all the things, just do something. And in regards to that, you know, I really am a big believer in voting. And I will say that the Voting Rights Act is going to have its second set in return. And at the time when the president's like, oh, we'll just cancel the election. We'll just cancel the postal service, which is the only way that people are going to be able to vote safely, right? And so we must fight for our voting rights.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's real talks. And, you know, Gloria Steinem like wrote this post recently, and one little part of it was voting is not the most we can do to have our, what was it? She didn't say our voices heard. She said it way better. She said to make a mark on society, but it is the least we can do. And that's my attitude. I don't know if voting works. I'm not God. Nobody knows if voting works. But what I do know is that if it doesn't work, it is a very small action that you wasted.
True.
Think of how many stupid magazines you've looked at, how many times you scrolled through Instagram and lost an hour of your life. It is the fucking least you can do. And if it does have an impact, then it's a massive thing to do. And so it just seems like, you know, I'm a Capricorn. I'm all about cost benefit. Like it costs you very little. And if it works, it gives you a great deal.
And there's no negative impact if you do.
There's no negative impact. There's no negative impact. So, you know, and I know somebody else, I don't remember who it was that said this, but she was just like, you know, think of voting like dating, not like getting married. You know what I mean? Like you can hook up. You don't have to like love them and want to spend the rest of your life with them, but it's just better to like vote for the lesser of evils. I do believe when we are dealing with, what I see as a really repressive government. And I just want to hold space for people of different ways of looking at the world. This is the way I look at the world. So yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting because right now, like for instance, I know I'll speak for you too. Right now, you know, for instance, like in the DMs, you'll have all sorts of people sending messages saying, you need to post about this, please post about this. And everything's coming at you 1,000 miles a minute. And I know when we get these DMs, like, first of all, I appreciate it because it's bringing in information. But I also know that it's coming from a good place in someone's heart. But at the same time, what I've realized via mistakes I've made, that is if I just start posting everything I'm seeing, guess what? All of a sudden, I'll actually click on that Instagram. I'll look into the person who's posting. I'm going down a line and feel like, oh, they actually support this. And this was manipulated to try to get me to distract from da-da-da-da-da.
Yes.
And it's like, it's almost like, yes, it's important to take in the information like you're saying, but it's so encouraging to be like, take that deep breath and be like, we have to think critically, like you said, and just take our time instead of just putting out as much information as possible.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I also get really overwhelmed because people will DM me and they'll be like, post this, and they'll just give me a link. And I'm like, are you telling me you need me to do research right now? Because I'm actually in the middle of my work day. And I know that it's coming from someplace good, but I understand that you have faith in my ethics and in my politics, but I don't know yours. So now I have to do a bunch of research, which is fine. I'm happy to do research, but there's a little way that I think that everyone's scared. And so when they turn to a source that they trust, we can be very demanding of that source. And you don't want to burn out your sources. You know what I mean? Like if you want to share news, just for anyone who's listening, you can share a post and be like, here are the 2 sources. You know what I mean? Like when people send me shit and it's 3 years old, I'm like, why are you wasting my time, girl? I know you mean well, but just look at the fucking thing. Look, because that is like a really common mistake people make. And I'm like, and it is the literal easiest thing to source. Like this was written in the Obama administration. Okay. So it's not as relevant for right now. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, I think we need to really pay attention to what we're asking of the people that are helping us, so that they can sustain the effort, because all of us are struggling. Like everybody's struggling, you know, and I think people who aren't struggling, I'm so confused by those people. I'm like, what do you care about? Where are you living? How is it for you?
Or maybe they just love watching the world burn. I might be a little more in that category where I was like, this is what I've been waiting for.
This is what we deserve.
Do those people exist? Maybe they do. I don't know. I just am like, I hate seeing suffering.
No, but there is a part of it that's encouraging, because when we're all so deeply aware of the suffering, then it is a catalyst for change, and it is a hope that there will be a big, like, kind of like when you step off a really big ledge, like you're jolted, but then you're making a move in a direction where before you were just kind of standing on the ledge, towing it and not really going anywhere.
Yeah.
So
this is it's a really powerful time.
Okay, broads, I'm going to fill you in on a little secret, a little personal secret, a tip of mine. I honestly believe that I can be wearing anything. I'm talking bottom of the barrel laundry day outfits. And as long as I have my lashes done, it's my personal thing, got my lashes done, and I'm wearing some gold jewelry, I feel like $1,000,000, no matter what, to assure that I'm always feeling my best, because let's be honest, who wants to feel any less? I only wear jewelry now that I never have to take off. And right now, that jewelry is Mejuri. Mejuri is the place to shop for classic fine jewelry pieces for a ton of reasons, but first and foremost, they're fairly priced. Fine jewelry shouldn't cost you tens of thousands or even thousands upon thousands of dollars. Mejuri offers fine jewelry for every day at great prices, and they still only use premium materials like 14 karat gold, sterling silver, pearls, and diamonds. Mejuri pieces are the jewelry that summer dreams are made of, broads. Think minimal designs, classic silhouettes that all go seamlessly together. And speaking of summer, because these pieces are made with the best materials, you'll never have to worry about taking them off. Yes, even in water. And if you're looking for some help on where to start, or knowing what pieces will go together best, or maybe even just trying to figure out your ring size, Mejuri offers digital one-on-one styling appointments to answer all of your styling questions. And let me tell you, they have some great stylists on there. You can get just great styling advice. Personally, for myself, some of my favorite Mejuri pieces. Speaking of astrology today, I have the cutest zodiac ear studs, and I never take them off. Like, absolutely never. And I've had them for about 1.5 years now. They look good as new. I wear them every single time I'm in the shower, in the bath, swimming, whatever. Also, I've been rocking some adorable Mejuri rings for the past 6 months. And in the past 6 months, I've been doing a lot of hand washing. Lots and lots of hand washing. And the rings still gleam. They glisten. They look great. Okay? Couldn't recommend Mejuri more. Plus, you'll get free shipping on all US and Canada orders, easy returns, and a 2-year warranty on all of your Mejuri pieces. So head to mejuri.com/chatty and enter code chatty10 for 10% off your first order. Again, that's mejuri.com/chatty, mejuri.com/chatty, and enter code chatty10 for 10% off your first order.
Now I'm going to add one last thing to the mix, which is Uranus in Taurus, which I may have mentioned last time. I don't know, but Uranus was last in the sign of Taurus in these dates, 1934 through 1942. Not much happened. Oh, wait, it was World War II. So
is this why the pianist was freaking me out when I was watching it?
Maybe so.
Like, this
maybe
is feeling
so.
too familiar.
So the thing about World War II is that it was the rise of fascism globally, right? It wasn't just one fascist leader. It was a bunch of them. And it wasn't just a bunch of fascist leaders. It was other nations turning a blind eye, like just making the decision to not get involved, right?
Which, by the way, the U.S.
Yeah, exactly. And that is because of its own shitty values and its own, deeply white supremacist history. And when I say history, I mean history up until this very moment. So when I look at this transit of Uranus in Taurus, and it started in May of 2018, and it's happening until May of 2026. Sorry. I apologize. I apologize. We can expect these themes of abuses of power and the oppression and repression of people. And we are seeing around the world, camps and genocide and just in profound oppression. And it's interwoven with climate change it's interwoven with climate change in many parts because climate change equals a lack of resources of water and food. And so we have to be really intersectional in our thinking. And when I say intersectional, what I look, because I feel like that's a word that is used in many ways. And what I mean is to understand that there are through lines of all topics with each other. It's really, really important that we recognize that all of these things are interconnected. And so for some people, you might hear that and be like, oh my God, it's too overwhelming. Like I can't tolerate all of this pain, all the complexity. And so I shut down. And so the key is to, when you have the capacity, educate yourself to whatever extent you can. And if you learn better by listening, then listen to podcasts. And if you learn better by reading, then read articles. And if you learn better by watching videos, then watch fucking videos, right? But it's about like doing those things and then recognizing, what do I have the capacity for, and committing to doing whatever it is that you can do and trying to make it a part of your life so that you're keeping education and advocacy or activism or microactivism an active part of your life, and hopefully your conversations with friends and family and all that kind of stuff. And there's just a bazillion ways to be ethical. And in fact, on my Instagram and my highlights, I had gone on my Instagram stories and been like, hey, tell me, what are you doing to make a difference? How are you participating in the world? And I just like screenshot and saved everyone's answers. And some of the answers were repeated, and there were like things you think, like contacting members of Congress and donating money. And then a lot of them were things I never would have thought of. And they were really exciting and inspiring. So, and I'll probably do it again and then like save all the answers that are unique. It was a little hard because there was a lot of them, but like save them to my stories. And just, you can use it as a resource to be like, okay, these are things I could actually do. They make sense for me and my family. You know what I mean? Because, like if you're a mom and you're like working, you how much time do you have? But there is always something that we can do, and we can always strive to do a little bit better than we did before. And that's where I always return to when people ask me about the astrology of 2020, because I can predict what's going to come, but I would rather say what the call to action is in a way, because then we can change what it looks like is coming, And that's what we want to do. We want to get the very best of our circumstances. Yeah. Because we need an uprising, because we need reforms to healthcare. I mean, I just saw that the federal government has won in court the ability to give less money to hospitals. That's what they're doing right now. They're trying to strip hospitals of federal funding. Strip. So, we have to be aware of that, and how capitalism is just not great for healthcare, and how, I'm Canadian. So I grew up with medical insurance. I grew up until you're 16 years old, you could go to the dentist. That's why I have teeth. Otherwise, there'd be a lot more gold in this thing. A lot more gold in this thing. Not in a cute way, like, oh, I got busted teeth and that's what's happening way. But like, yeah, having access to medical is not socialism, whether you like or dislike socialism. It's just what most developed countries have, right? And so like, we need this to be something we think about and educate ourselves about and talk about with people we disagree with. And then within that, I'll just add one more thing, which is connected to this whole like propaganda and like fake news conversation, which is having disagreements about how to get to an agreed upon goal is okay. It doesn't feel good, but it's okay. Having disagreements about our worldview is okay. Where the problem lies is when the disagreements are based in an essential disrespect or oppression. And I think that that's something that a lot of people have a hard time with when they're like talking to family and stuff like that. We're just like, well, I want them to tolerate my views, so why am I not tolerating theirs? And so I think that a good metric is if somebody's view is this kind of human does not deserve human rights and dignity and equal treatment because of the color of their skin or who they have sex with or their gender or whatever.
Or even who they vote for,
Or who they vote, real talks, yes. Or whether or not they want to wear a mask or whatever it is. Like when we're talking about like this person doesn't deserve the same dignity that I want to be treated with. That's when it's not a difference in opinion. It's different. It's a profound and fundamental difference in ethics. And at a certain point, in the words of Brene Brown, you can't be a jackass whisperer. Like, you sometimes got to know, like, so there's no room for conversation in this. This is like a waste of my precious energy, and my precious energy can actually be impactful over there. So it is okay to do what I do with one of my parents, which is every time he tries to talk to me about a damn thing, I say, I like you, so I'm not going to fucking talk to you about this because for the record, you're wrong. I think you're wrong. And then I won't talk about it further. So I'm always reaffirming, like, we disagree and I know you're wrong, but I don't want to talk to you about this at all. So for me, that's my way of engaging, so that I'm not like pretending to agree, but I'm also not engaging because there's no point. And, you know, some people would say that's the wrong way. You got to decide for yourself what you're going to do with your family. And I think that the way forward is to find your way and to constantly check back in and be like, you know, I might in a month be like, yeah, that's not working. I have to change my approach. And I think we need to give ourselves the latitude to evolve and change and to kind of adjust based on where we're at, where other people are at, and what's happening in the world. You know what I mean? And this is not just my opinions. It's my opinions informed by the astrology. So, yeah.
Well, Jessica, I mean, obviously it's scary, but I think what's such a good reminder to me is when you're talking, and even you bring up the example of the Hunger Games, is that like right now, and like you were saying too, Becca, like, I mean, we're in, this is a horrible circumstance, but it is a unique circumstance. And I know, for instance, in my home, my husband losing his job for the past few months, allowed more time for him to start researching about civil rights and a lot of stuff that and now all of a sudden this is something he needed to be, but now is way more passionate and informed about. It's like, okay, now we can take that and look at the positive side, and then just remember like when we're on the same team, because that's the other thing I feel like I've been seeing so often is, yes, of course, we all have different opinions and passions, and I'm all about growing. And like when I'm wrong or I'm not informed, like I need to know. But I feel like so many of us who do inherently believe in the same thing are starting to just pick each other apart because we're all just so tense and there's so much stress. But to remember, remember who we're fighting against, not each other.
Remember who we're fighting. And also, I'd love to hear that your husband's able to be like, okay, so this part of my life isn't where I want it to be, but now I'm going to leverage this time. And I think that it does take a willingness to accept where we're at, to then pivot and make use of it, you know? And I think a lot of us struggle with accepting where we're at. And, you know, I talk to people in April who were like, COVID will be done by the summer. And I was like, really? Or like people saying like, oh, we'll have that vaccine. Humans have never created a vaccine in less than 4 years. That is the quickest we've ever come up with a vaccine. Now, modern medicine is different. The whole world's working on it at once. But to think we're going to have it in less than a year, trust all that. And I'm very pro-vaccine. Yeah. But it just means that it's an experiment on humans.
Yeah. Well, when Fauci comes on and is like, it's going to be ready by September. And it's just like, what? That does not make any sense.
Do I feel comfortable injecting myself with it? Maybe. Yeah. Maybe not.
I mean, here's the thing. I'm very, very, very pro-vaccine. I think it's a civil, like it's our civic duty. You know, that's my attitude. I know different people have different attitudes, but I think it's our civic duty to protect others.
Sort of a similar idea to the masks, you know?
Yeah, it's identical. It's identical. And also, there's a reason why vaccines go through rigorous testing over the course of time. Because if they only test on a small group of people and then they don't wait to see what happens, yikes, TM. Yeah. So I just feel like, you know, this is like a really complicated time. You know, it's just it's a complicated time, and some things are like, we've never gone through it before. We've never gone through all of these things at once with the internet. That is something that I think we need to keep on talking about and returning to is, you know, the power of the internet and the pros and cons of it, and how we have to develop greater responsibility. This is what you were just talking about.
I was just posting the other night on when I was freaking out watching The Pianist. I posted on my story.
What is this movie?
I've
never seen it.
Adrian Brody.
No.
He plays a Jewish pianist in World War II in Poland.
Okay, well, now you're making me feel bad for when you said pianist at first. I went like this because I was like, you're not talking about penises, you're talking about pianists. And now I've even made it feel worse because I brought it to your attention. You clearly didn't know I was being a dork. No, I had no idea what that movie was. Okay.
I thought you were doing this like pianist, like playing piano.
But I was in my mind, I was like, pianist, not pianist. I don't know why I would make a 12-year-old boy's joke. It's such a serious time in our lives, but I did
I think we need more of that, to be honest.
I accept it. I'm not insulted.
Okay.
Adrian Brody might be, but no.
He might, well,
it's
yes.
an incredible movie. It's on Netflix right now. Highly recommend. But and because it really shows in a way that a lot of Holocaust movies don't, like sort of the slow step into genocide is really what it really highlights. Anyway, but I posed the question on my story. I said, do you believe the internet can potentially prevent the rise of basically fascist power? And it was interesting because there was the answers were split 50-50. And I was like, well, that's fitting because the answer is yes and no. Like yes, it will, it can totally empower a fascist system. And then, but you know, at the same time, it can also, we are connected and we can also, we can see what's going on and we can, but sometimes seeing isn't believing.
To that point, you know, we still don't know what's happening in the detention centers. And I put quotes on that because they're really camps. We don't know what's happening in the detention centers because they haven't let the press in. And there was just news was released that little children and young girls have been kept in hotel rooms by ICE. With no, like the only supervision they have is federal agents,
which is bizarre to me. That I'm just going to go off on a little.
Just
it's
put
bizarre
it out there,
to me
girlfriend.
that the people talking about child sex trafficking are not acknowledging what is happening with the children at the border. Like, why? How are we going to ignore that and say like? Oh, or what if we care about children around the world, but like these people were breaking the law, so then those children's lives don't matter? Like it's so crazy.
It's really deeply alarming. It's alarming. But I will say this article, and I can't remember where I read it. It might have been the New York Times or BuzzFeed, but the article I read did say that the concerns were that these children were being trafficked or that they were being harmed by ICE agents because we have no way of knowing.
Why the fuck not?
And who would want their little girls? I mean, little boys too, but who would want their little girls trapped in hotel rooms with border agents?
I don't want my children taken anywhere without me. That's like the bottom line of it. Like
exactly. Stolen from their parents and detained. I mean, detained is just a way of saying incarcerated. And it is such an important topic and it's so heartbreaking. And we don't have photographic evidence. We don't have we don't have a visual. And so it's something that between feeling helpless and also not being confronted with it visually, that we see a lot less activism around it. Raíces is an amazing organization doing work, and they're ones to like follow and engage with their content. And if you have money to donate, they're a great org to donate to if that's a topic you're concerned about. I think it's one we all need to be concerned about. Okay, so I said I was only going to say one more thing, but I'm going to say one more thing on top of my one more thing, if that's okay. Okay. Okay, so I mentioned before the Pluto return of the United States in 2021. Okay, so, and that's in February of 2021. And Pluto in astrology refers to many things, including some of the things I mentioned before, which I'm not going to repeat just for your mental health. And also it governs shame and it governs legacies of oppression. And the Pluto return of the United States will confront us with our history of genocide and our history of slavery and the history of being colonizers and a violent force in the world. Now, that's not the only thing we've been. We've also done great things. And there's a lot of things about the great American experiment of democracy and capitalism that we've seen. But note that this is happening at a time where we have a president who is kind of trying to turn him and his family into a royal family. But the colonizers who came to this land were fleeing the monarchy, right? They were fleeing the royals. That's why they wanted to be the colonizers here. And so, in a way, what we are dealing with now and what we will see at the start of 2021 is a lot of kind of like the shadow side and the evidence of this great American experiment and whether or not it works and who it works for. And the potential here is for us to transform it. So Pluto is the phoenix rising from the ashes. It's also the fire, and it's also whatever it destroyed to create that phoenix to rise. So that's the whole damn thing with Pluto. And so this is when I say we're in the pregame show. That is a lot of what I'm talking about. It's like so much of this, I see like on social, people are always like, let it burn. And that's what so much of this is we need to confront the shame of our history. We need to confront what doesn't work about American society and the government, and whether or not the Constitution actually protects us all, because it wasn't written to protect us all. It was only written to protect straight, heterosexual, Christian, white men. That's it. And do we need to update it? Because I would say we do, but that's a scary idea too. So there's like a whole thing there, but within the Pluto return of the United States is all the themes we've been talking about, right? It's with all these themes. And I think that, again, all we can do as individuals, if you're not a politician or somebody with like buckets and buckets of money where you can like make major social change, because of course money is power within capitalism. But if you're just like a Joe Schmo or a Joe Curly or whatever, what you can do is your 1 to 3 things, like find something that you care about and chip away at that thing, make a difference, and keep on educating yourself. I think that these are things we can do. And again, I would say within that, voting is the very least. It's not the most, but it's the least. And we should all be fucking doing it, especially if you've ever voted in a poll on social media, or if you've ever voted for American Idol, God damn you, you better fucking vote in the next presidential election, right? I mean, my God, not like I think that's necessarily like the people who would agree with all my ethics, but it's just like, if you can find the time to vote in my polls on my Instagram stories, you better be voting for the president.
If you voted for Adam Lambert 500 times by calling
Bless
on American Idol, you can vote, okay?
Yes. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Man.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
do you feel heavy? Every once in a while, people ask me to talk about the astrology of 2020. And I always emerge from the conversation feeling like I just put like weights on your shoulders. Do you feel like there are weights on your shoulders now?
I don't.
No, I feel kind of the opposite, to be honest. I know that we said earlier that I'm wired in the way of like, I like knowing a little bit. Yeah. But it's more...
I think I personally feel it a little like it's affirming and validating. I don't think it's anything that we weren't thinking about. I think like, just Jess and I, just the text conversation we've been having back and forth, I think it's just like very much stuff that was already on our mind. So I think it feels kind of good to be like, maybe we're not just being crazy conspiracy theorists.
Maybe we're not just spiraling.
But if you do create a Chatty Broads tinfoil hat, I want one.
Merch.
I'm just saying I want one.
I mean,
merch.
Jessica, you got the cute books, you got the cute signs, you got everything just is always the aesthetic is always so incredible, and now you're giving us merch ideas.
Oh my God. First of all, thank you. Thank you. And also right back at you. And also I do think I would wear your tinfoil hats.
Actually, I have a better idea. I think we should get someone to illustrate pictures of us with tinfoil hats and put it on a shirt. Ooh, that's actually a really good
great idea.
That's very fun.
But in your version of a tinfoil hat, is there like a string?
Yes, there's a string. Yes, there's a string. Yes.
I caught that.
Yes.
I caught that. I love that.
It's a little
because
chic.
It's not conventional to put a bow under a tinfoil hat.
No, it's like a sun hat, like sort of like Gone with the Wind, southern bell bow style. Maybe to the side a little bit.
Oh, I love that.
Okay, so I see what you're doing. You're like tinfoil hat, but make it burn my brains out.
Yes.
Like just, I'm old enough that like I used to tan with the mirrors.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of like you're giving me like mirror tan reversal.
Of course.
Excitement.
Tinfoil hat, but make it Vogue. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I'm very into it. I would wear that t-shirt. I would stick that sticker on the back of things.
We will
Love
send.
I just really want you to do that.
Made and sent.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
Yeah, Jessica, thank you so much. Can you plug away and then we'll put it, of course, in the notes?
Okay. First of all, thank you for having me back. This was so great to hang out with you guys.
So nice to see you again.
I'm so glad you weren't totally bummed by the tragedy of the astrology.
No.
Okay, cool. So find me on the World Wide Web at lovelanyadoo.com, which is my website, and I have weekly horoscopes. You can learn tarot with me on patreon.com. I also have a monthly horoscope where I just like break down all the major transits of the month ahead. Listen to the podcast out twice a week called Ghost of a Podcast. I have a free app for iOS. It's called Tiny Spark. It is a magic 8-ball that's pink, basically. And it says things like, move the fuck on, or stop asking that question. You already know the answer. So it's like, you can hear my voice in your head when you use this app. What else? Oh yeah, I have a book, buy my book. It's called Astrology for Real Relationships. And
I can't wait till I didn't know about that.
Yeah, it's very cute. I mean, I don't mean to like overwhelm you with the cuteness, to watch me.
Oh,
overwhelming you with cuteness.
Gosh.
Yeah. And it's not just about love relationships. It's about friendships and people you're boning.
Love it.
So it's not just about like I'm married or I'm partnered, because I feel like all the astrology books are about that.
Wait, I can borrow your book
yourself.
on my Kindle. It's available at the library.
Do it. Please do that. That makes me so happy.
It makes me happy too.
That it's at a library.
Yeah.
I also found out that it's at a library in New Zealand somewhere. And because it's like hard to get books in New Zealand, like there's not as, it's not like whatever. Anyways, I got so excited when I found out I was in a library there. It made me.
That is super cool.
That is really cool.
Thanks. Thank you so much. I think it was translated and it's for sale in Brazil as well, but I've never seen a copy of it. So it's just a rumor. It's hearsay. It's hearsay, I say. And then let me see if there's anything else that I would want the people to know. No, I mean, you can get all that stuff in the bubbles of my Instagram.
Yes.
If you're into social media,
if you're not
like
taking a break.
social media. No, I am taking a break. I'm barely on there compared to what I used to do.
I just have to throw in, you've got great Goodreads reviews. You really do.
I do. Thank you. I don't look at them because they're a tragedy usually. No, I can't. It's too scary.
But someone said I feel both seen and attacked by this book, and it was a positive
Thank you.
review.
That sounds very much like something people say to me often. They say they both feel seen and attacked. And that's what I'm looking for.
Love it.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. So yeah, if you like emojis and you like astrology and you like people, then you're going to like my book.
Great.
Well, Jessica from Jess and Becca.
I know.
We love you. Thank you so much for coming.
I love you. Thank you for having me.
Chat soon, Rods.
Chat soon.